everyone. Let's begin our discussion on loops in this video. Loops are a very powerful way to repeat a certain portion, a certain, I guess you could say paragraph or a certain amount of code in your program again and again for a certain purpose. That's not very tangible at the moment, but you'll see when we go over examples, it'll become a lot more tangible, hopefully. There's mainly two loops that we'll look at. There are two main kind of loops. There's another one, but I'm just going to state two main ones. The while loop, and this is what we're covering in this video, and the for loop. I think the while loop just makes a little bit more sense, in my opinion, because of like the name, like while, just makes a little bit more sense. For is just kind of a weird keyword, but we'll go over that in a different video, so let's not worry about that right now. So while loop, the while loop, let's first understand what the while loop is and what it means. So the while loop is essentially, think about it like in this way. While something is true, the code is going to keep on running. That's the essence. That's the whole idea. So for example, while Bob is running, I will also be running. That's basically, so like, for example, while Bob is running, I can write code that says, while Bob running equals true, my code is going to execute, I will be running, and all of the other things that I need to run. That's a weird, silly example, but we'll go over a better example when we jump over to the IDE. I'll also go over a real quick example right now, but I won't be writing it with the correct syntax that you need. I'm just going to be using English just to write it out. So for example, if I wanted to get the situation while I watch CS50 on YouTube, I will be eating Doritos and playing the flute. So excuse the bad handwriting. And this is just a random example off the top of my head. So the way that this would work is basically, as long as I watch CS50 on YouTube, I will also be eating Doritos and playing flute at the same time. So as long as this CS50 on YouTube is true, as long as I watch it, these actions are going to be continually happening. So the way you write that in code, and this is not the way you write this in code, but the way it's represented in code is while, and then you'd have code that says that essentially talks about this. So while watching CS50 on YouTube, is true. So while watching CS50 on YouTube is true, and then inside of your your brackets here, you would have all the things. You would have eating Doritos and playing flute. And then it would keep on going. For example, if I keep on watching CS50 on YouTube, that might not be healthy after a long time. But if I keep on doing that forever and ever, I'm going to keep on eating Doritos and I'm going to keep on playing the flute. It's an interesting life to lead. So that would keep on happening again and again until I stop watching CS50 on YouTube, which would be a difficult task because it's quite addicting. Then I would stop eating Doritos and stop playing the flute, and I would move on with my life. In this situation, I would move on with the code. That's a very silly example, but I hope that's kind of just give you a basic sense of what the while loop is. It's a very, very intuitive thing. It's just like if conditional statements and else conditional and else statements. It's very intuitive. All right. Anyway, let's go over to the IDE now.
All right. So to summarize, a loop is basically a sequence of instructions that's continually repeated until a certain condition is reached. So now in this case, we'll now be demonstrating the while loop. So the example I'm going to be using is the amount of time that Moira is going to be teaching. So this is what we usually use in the past videos. So Moira is once again a fun teacher that me and Pranav has. So how this is going to work is initially we're going to have a variable of how long Moira is going to be teaching. And while Moyer is going to be teaching, then we're going to print out I am learning a good amount, for example. So the way we're going to actually do this is we're going to first create int variable, which is the amount of time that he's going to create. So int Moyer teaching time. And unfortunately, we're going to keep it at 1 hour. Yeah, we need more of his teaching time, but let's make it 60 minutes, actually. I mean, yeah, 60 minutes. Let's change it to 60. So that basically means how many minutes he's teaching. And now let's now use the while loop. So while Moyer teaching time is greater than 0. So as long as that's true, then it's going to keep running whatever is inside that while loop. So now we're going to print out while that is greater than 0, system out print line, I am learning so much. Woohoo. All right, so now let's run it. Let's run our program and see what's going to happen. Oh, wow. It looks like we're having a lot of lines that are getting printed out. But there's something weird, right? This program is actually never going to stop. So the reason for that is, well, first of all, we have a variable, and now it's giving us exit status. This is basically like it's running an infinite loop. Now we don't want infinite loop in this case. So the reason this is happening is, well, because first of all, we have an int variable, that's 60, right? And while more teaching time is greater than 0. So 60 is greater than 0, that's true. So it's going to be running whatever's inside of that. But more teaching time is always going to remain at 60. So while 60 is greater than 0, that's true. It's going to run that statement. 60 is greater than 0, it's going to print out 60 greater than 0. So we're not basically changing the variable. We're only making it at 60. So the way we're actually going to do this is after we print out the statement, we're going to do something called decrement. So what decrement basically means is we're going to keep reducing the variable one by one. So the way we actually format this in Java is we do more teaching time minus minus. Now, another way of actually saying that is in comments, you can say something like more teaching time equals more teaching time minus 1. Now, mathematically, that does not make sense. But in the cases of programming, this is basically an assignment operator. So more teaching time is going to be switched to more teaching time minus 1. So 60 is becoming 59. That's true. 59 is greater than 0. It's going to go to while loop. It's going to print that out. And then it's going to basically decrement once more. So 59 becomes 58. And so on and so forth until we reach 0, right? And that's basically what the decrement operator is. It basically keeps reducing one by one. And that's the important thing that we need to keep here. And that is a way of ensuring that we're not having an infinite loop in this case. So now let's rerun it. Now here we're going to have a lot of lines that are going to be outputted. Well, first of all, that's because we have a huge number like 60. But now we're going to find out that our program is going to end successfully. So you see here it's going to end successfully. Now to make it more clear, let's now change 60 to unfortunately 5. Unfortunately 5. Yeah, unlucky we couldn't learn much in 5 minutes. But this is what we're trying to demonstrate here. So now let's make it 5 and see what's going to happen. We run the program. All right, so now let's count. Now we have 5 lines. So first of all, more teaching time is 5. So it's going to 5 while 5 is greater than 0. That's true. So it's going to run whatever's inside of that, which is I'm learning so much, woohoo. Then it's going to decrement by 1, which means 5 is going to become 4. Now, while 4 is greater than 0, 4 is greater than 0 is a true statement. So it's going to run whatever's inside that until it reaches 0. So let's now check that. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So it's going to lastly go to 0. While 0 is greater than 0 is a false statement. Therefore, that is not going to be true for the while loop. So to summarize, basically, while something is true, it's going to run whatever is inside that. And that's basically what a while loop is. But if the statement after the while is false, then that's where the loop actually stops. And that's basically a way how we demonstrate an example for the while loop. Thanks.